Just last week, FIFA announced South African Football Association Chief Medical Officer Thulani Ngwenya has been appointed as a doping officer for the World Cup in Qatar later this year. Now, Ngwenya is one of the most respected experts in sports medicine, and he joins me this morning just to chat a bit more about doping in the sports. Thulani, thank you so much for joining us here and welcome to the show. I mean, first and foremost, congratulations on that appointment. How big of a moment is it for you, especially getting this appointment in your career right now?
Good morning, Dumi, and good morning to all your viewers. It is actually, thank you for having me here. It is a big moment for me, and I take it as a privilege, I take it as an honor to represent not only South Africa, not only our region, not only the people, the doctors in South Africa, but the continent. You know, I'm the only doctor that is going to be representing the continent in the World Cup. So it's a big moment, and it's a big break for me. And for me, honestly, it's because of the hard work that I've done over the years, and I feel it is time for me to actually be there. I did not see it coming so soon, but I knew someday it will actually come.
Well, one thing for sure is that we'll definitely be looking to see how you'll be doing as you're flying that flag high at the World Cup. But doping officer, how big is doping though in football?
Doping in sport is quite big. Doping in football is quite big, but what makes it actually big is poor education, because you know, there's some recreational drugs that some athletes would take not knowing that actually they are banned substances, because doping is in two categories. There's banned substances in competition, there's banned substances out of competition. So there's some athletes that are just taking recreational drugs, not only enhancing their performance, because the doping control is not only to deal with sports enhancement, but it is also to protect the health of the athletes, because there's some drugs that actually act on your heart muscle and can actually cause cardiac arrest. So we are trying to protect the sport as much as we are keeping it fair.
I mean, you mentioned the fact that sometimes the athletes are taking these substances without even knowing.
Yeah.
How does that even happen? But I would assume in a team, they are taken care of by the medical team. In a case that a player is found that they are perhaps testing positive for a banned substance, do they only hold the player accountable alone, or do they also check who in the team gave him the substance?
Well, when we are educating our athletes, we tell them, and that is the WADA code. It says that the athlete is responsible for anything that goes into their body. So whether injection, whether medication, as athletes you'd know. That is why I always advise athletes that if they're sick, they'd rather consult a sports doctor rather than a general doctor, because as a general practitioner, you give medication, and that medication is actually working. But to find that that medication is actually banned in sport. So that is why when you actually consulting a sport and exercise physician, then they would know what medication to actually give you, because there's different options of the type of medication.
Is there a common substance that footballers use from your point of view in terms of the cases that you've dealt with?
Well, there's quite a number of substances that athletes use, but of late, especially here in our country, we have seen commonly a recreational drug like marijuana, dacha. You know, in South Africa, it's not banned. South Africa, it's a drug that you can actually, it's a recreational drug that you can use anytime. Even the country's regulations are allowing that. But in sport, it's different, because when you test positive in competition, then unfortunately you become banned.
But doesn't it make them slow though?
Well, apart from being slow, it calms you. It calms your nerves, because, you know, when you are anxious going to a competition, when you have that, then it calms you. So some say it makes them recover actually better, of which I feel it's a myth, because it's not scientifically proven, but they're still using it. But with this continuous education, actually, it's going to help us to try and help them to understand that they can actually use such.
So are you guys going to be involved in a kind of like roadshow before the World Cup in terms of educating the players that are going to be competing at the tournament?
Yeah, well, the education is continuous. that responsibility goes with the team doctor.
Okay.
But there's information that is actually released by FIFA to all the, in fact by WADA to all the teams that are participating, not only in football, everyone that is participating. Now there's Commonwealth Games now in July, so everyone would know that there will be doping there. So people are educated continuously, but that responsibility goes with the team doctor so that you educate your athlete on a continuous basis.
You know, one thing that I've always asked myself is that how does the testing procedures work? I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, Njumayelo, when he got tested, it was a recreational drug. But if you go into a tournament like the World Cup, when do you test players and how do you know which player to test?
Okay, there's quite different procedures when it comes to doping control. There's out of competition, like I've actually alluded earlier. Now, out of competition, all athletes that are elite, they have to actually say their whereabouts. So the doping control officer can come to you anytime. For instance, if you have registered that you're going to be home on Saturday at 11, and we come 3 times at 11 on Saturday at home, and we don't find you, that is doping control violation. You can be actually banned for that. So that's out of competition. And over and above that, there's also now whistleblowers. So there's people that can actually say, hey, there's someone that is actually using drugs. So athletes, especially professional athletes, they need to know that they shouldn't actually do it, because we can test them in competition or out of competition. But in competition, we do random sampling, where we can actually do random sampling or target actually testing. Because if we see you scoring a lot of goals and it's not explainable, so we can actually target you. So if we can also do random sampling, where we do halftime, we take all the people that are playing and on the bench, we do a draw, and then if we pick up 2, then those 2 are going to be tested. If then we feel that the team is really doing so well, we can target the whole team, the entire team, and test the entire team. So it can be done anyhow, so as long as it is within the competition.
However, is it mandate that if you see perhaps a team is doing well, I know in athletics, if you see someone that wins, you have to test them just to check if they're doping or not. So in football, if a team is doing well, it's a mandate that you have to test them?
Not really a mandate, but it is within the jurisdiction of the doping control officer or the competition, so they can actually do it. So you are not told whether you're going to be tested or not. So, but you cannot deny testing. You know, I know in athletics, I know in swimming, when you're in big competitions, you are tested when you have actually won. So, and that can be revoked if you test for the trophy, or the medal can be revoked if you actually test positive. So if in football, we can actually do that. So, but what is known now is this random testing and out of competition testing. So that's what we are actually using now. But it can be anything.
What's the negative side then of doping for footballers?
Well, it creates anxiety, but if you test positive, unfortunately, you can be banned for 4 years, can be banned for life. It's not only testing, it's also being in possession of a banned substance. You can also it's doping violation, being in possession of a banned substance, or you are found trafficking a banned substance. That is doping violation. So there's quite a lot of things that can actually happen. So you just need to be away from banned substances. You need to know whether the banned substance is first and foremost, and if then because there's some people, for instance, that have got asthma. Asthma, you use a asthma pump, and asthma pump has prednisone. Prednisone in competition is banned, but you need to apply for therapeutic use exemption so that you can be actually exempted to use that, because health comes first, but you need to declare it.
But then in these cases where you find a player using a banned substance, how do you know how long they should be banned?
Well, it is clear, the rules are clear. If a substance is found in your system, it's a minimum of 4 years. So, but it depends what kind of substance. For recreational substances, it can range from 3 months, 6 months, up to 2 years. But for sports enhancing substances, it's 4 years and above.
Do you think there's enough education, though, in the country, just before I let you go, for our footballers in terms of knowing what not to use and just the dangers of doping as a whole? Because I was reading actually an article the other day where they're saying that it actually, even though you feel like it will help enhance your performance, mentally it could affect you.
100%, because look, these substances can actually affect your heart, can affect your brain as well. So we are actually in progress. We are really doing our best to try and educate our athletes, but we are not there yet because we still have some issues of doping. But we hope someday we'll get there.
Well, Thulani, thank you very much for coming to join us here in studio, and wishing you nothing but the best as you fly that South African flag high.